The first time they tried to push me out of the VIP ward, the bottle almost slipped from my hand. Not because I was weak, because the whole hallway shook with shouting. "Who is this boy? Where is security? He's carrying something." And then I heard it, one sentence that made my stomach turn cold. "Madam, we can't delay the funeral arrangements again. The doctors said 2 days. 2 days. 2 days for Adewale Martins, the famous CEO whose face was on billboards from Lekki to Ikeja. The man whose restaurant serves them jollof rice and grilled chicken to rich people who didn't even look at the plates before snapping pictures. 2 days. And I was standing inside his hospital holding a small bottle of dirty water like it was a weapon. Because it was. A nurse rushed toward me, her shoes squeaking on the clean floor. Her eyes were sharp and scared at the same time. "Hey, hey, stop there," she snapped. "You can't be here." I took one step back, then two. But I didn't run. I held the bottle tighter. The water inside it looked wrong, not just brown, like muddy brown. It had a thin layer of grease floating on top, like oil that refused to die. Even through the plastic I could smell it. A sour smell, like rotten food and metal. A doctor in a white coat stepped out, tall and annoyed. His tag read, "Dr. EZ." He stared at me like I was a stain on his floor. "What is this madness?" he asked. I swallowed. My mouth felt dry. "My name is Sadiq," I said, forcing the words out. "I need to see him." Dr. Ez laughed once, a short, hard laugh. "You?" He looked me up and down. My slippers were dusty, my shirt had one torn seam. My trousers were faded like they had washed too many times and given up. "This is VIP ward," he said slowly, like I was slow. "Do you know what VIP means?" I nodded. "Very important person," I said. He lifted his chin. "Exactly. This isn't a place for street children." I felt heat rise in my face, not shame, anger. I wasn't a street child. Not exactly, but I didn't correct him. I didn't have time for pride. "I'm not here for food," I said. "I'm not here to beg. I'm here because he's dying. And I know why." That made the nurse pause. Dr. Ease's smile faded just a little. Behind him, the VIP ward door was slightly open. I could see machines. I could hear the soft beep, beep, beep like a slow clock. And I caught a glimpse of the bed. Adewale Martins lay there like a man who had already started leaving the world. His face looked smaller than it did on TV. His skin had a grey look, like something inside him was losing the fight. On the chair beside the bed sat a woman in expensive lace, cream and gold. Her eyes were red like she had been crying all morning, but her back was straight like she refused to break in public. That had to be Mrs. Martins. And standing near the window were two men in suits, speaking in low voices. One held a black folder. The other kept checking his phone like he was waiting for bad news to become worse. Funeral planners, right there, in the room. Planning how to bury a living man. My heart beat faster, not because I was scared, but because the whole thing felt wrong. Like a movie that had gone too far. Dr. Easy stepped closer to me, his voice dropped, dangerous. "Listen, boy, whatever story you have, keep it outside. Oh, this man needs rest. He's on life support. His organs are failing. If you bring any contamination in here..." I lifted the bottle slightly, just enough for him to see it properly. The nurse gasped. "Ah," she said, stepping back. "What is that?" Dr. Ease's nose wrinkled. "Is that dirty water?" "Yes," I said. His face hardened. "Then you're leaving. Now." Two security men appeared from the end of the hallway, thick arms, black uniforms, faces like stone. One of them pointed at me. "Small boy, Oya, come out." I looked at them, then I looked back at the door. The bottle felt heavier now, like it carried my whole life inside it. My father's voice entered my head, soft like a memory. "Sadiq, if something is wrong, don't keep quiet because you're small." My throat tightened. "I need him to smell it," I said. The nurse blinked. "Ah, smell? It?" "Yes," I said, my voice shaking now. "Just smell it, that's all." Dr. Ease frowned like he couldn't believe what he was hearing. "Are you insane?" he whispered harshly. "This is a hospital ward. We don't bring dirty water to a dying patient to—" "Please," I cut in. The word came out cracked. "Please, just 1 second. Let him smell it. One security man grabbed my arm. His hand was heavy, firm. Oya, he barked. You dey craze? Come out now. I stumbled, but I didn't drop the bottle. I dug my heels into the floor, then something happened that made everyone go quiet. From inside the room, Adewale Martins moved. Just a little. His fingers twitched against the white sheet. The beeping changed speed. The nurse turned sharply and rushed into the room. Dr. Ease followed fast, the way doctors do when their pride is suddenly replaced by panic. I used the moment. I pulled my arm free from the security man's grip and stepped toward the door. Hey, the guard shouted, reaching again. But I was already inside. The room was too clean, too cold. The smell was medicine and money. Mrs. Martin stood up so fast, her chair almost fell. Her eyes widened when she saw me, and then she saw the bottle. Her face twisted like she was about to scream. "What is that?" she cried. "Who let this boy in?" One of the men in suits moved quickly, blocking my path like a wall. "You can't come close," he warned. I stopped. I didn't want to fight. I just raised the bottle again, carefully. "I'm not here to hurt him," I said. "I'm here because I think this is what's killing him." Dr. Ease spun toward me, furious. Security," he snapped. "Remove him." Mrs. Martin's voice rose. It was loud, sharp, breaking. "My husband is dying, and you people are allowing a dirty boy with dirty water to enter his room? Are you mad?" Dirty boy, dirty water, dirty life. The words hit me like slaps, one after another. I swallowed hard and forced myself to speak. "My father died," I said. Silence fell, quick and heavy. Mrs. Martins blinked, confused. "What did you say?" she asked, slower now. "My father," I repeated. "He died because of water like this." One of the suited men scoffed. "This is not the time for your village story." "It's not a village story," I said, my voice rising. "It's Lagos. Behind his restaurant in Ajegunle." That name changed the air in the room. Even Dr. Easy paused, because everyone knew Ajegunle. Not from living there, but from the way rich people talked about it like it was a different planet. I continued before they could shut me down. "I grew up behind his restaurant," I said. "Not inside it. Behind it. Where the gutters are. Where the waste goes." Mrs. Martins stared at me like she was suddenly seeing a human being. Adewale Martin's eyes fluttered open, barely, but open. His gaze was weak and unfocused, until it landed on the bottle. And then something changed. His eyebrows pulled together, his nostrils flared faintly. A small sound left his throat, like a dry cough. Mrs. Martins rushed to him. "Adewale! Adewale, can you hear me?" He didn't answer, but his eyes stayed on the bottle, on the dirty water, on the thin layer of grease floating like a warning. I took one careful step forward. The suited man tried to stop me, but Dr. Easy lifted a hand. "Wait," the doctor said quietly, confused by his own curiosity. I moved closer, slowly. My hands trembled. I didn't want to spill it. I didn't want anyone to grab it. I stopped beside the bed, still keeping a respectful distance. "Adewale Martins," I whispered, because saying his full name felt strange, like talking to a billboard. "Please, just smell it." Mrs. Martins looked like she wanted to slap me, but her eyes were also desperate. She was a woman drowning, and she didn't know what to grab. I loosened the cap just a little. A tiny hiss of trapped air escaped. The smell spread. The nurse covered her nose instantly. One of the suited men cursed under his breath. "Jesus!" Dr. Easy's face tightened. "Close it!" But Adewale Martins suddenly reacted. Not big, not dramatic, just real. His eyes widened. His chest rose as if a memory punched him awake. His lips moved slightly. Then he whispered something. It was weak, almost impossible to hear. But I heard it, because I was leaning close, and because I had waited years for that moment. He whispered, "That smell." His eyes filled with fear. Real fear, not the fear of death, the fear of being remembered. Mrs. Martins leaned closer. "Adewale? What smell? What are you saying?" Adewale's gaze locked on me, sharp now, like he knew exactly who I was, even though he didn't. His lips trembled. Then he whispered again. One sentence that made the suited men freeze. "The waistline." Dr. Ease straightened slowly. "What waistline?" Adewale tried to breathe. His eyes flicked toward the window like he wanted to escape the room. Then he spoke one more word. A name. A place. Ajagunle. My stomach dropped. Mrs. Martin's mouth fell open. Adewale? What is he talking about? Dr. Easy stepped closer to the bed, now fully alert. Adewale Martins, he said firmly. Listen to me. Are you saying you recognize that water? Adewale's eyes watered. He blinked slowly. It looked like pain. It looked like regret. It looked like a man seeing his past as a hungry thing that finally found him. Then he coughed. Hard. The machines beeped faster. Mrs. Martins screamed. Doctor! The nurse rushed to adjust something. Dr. Ease barked orders. I stood frozen, still holding the bottle with the cap loose, smelling the smell that had followed my life like a shadow. And as chaos rose, one of the suited men turned to Mrs. Martins, voice shaking. Should we still call the funeral director? Mrs. Martins looked at her husband's terrified eyes, then looked at the bottle, then looked at me. Her voice dropped into something I had never heard from a rich woman before. Not pride, not anger, fear. No, she whispered, don't call anyone. Find out what that boy knows. Dr. Ez spun toward me, eyes sharp like knives. Sadiq, he said, where did you get that water? My lips parted. I was about to answer, but before I could, Adewale Martins suddenly jerked, as if his body was fighting itself. The monitor screamed a louder beep. The nurse shouted, he's crashing. And the last thing I saw before security grabbed my shoulder again was Adewale's hand lifting weakly toward the bottle, as if the dirty water was the only truth left in the room. The machines screamed, not politely, not softly. They screamed the way alarms do when something is about to end. Clear the area, Dr. Eze shouted. Nurse, oxygen, now. Get the crash cart. Hands flew everywhere, tubes were adjusted, buttons were pressed. The room that was quiet minutes ago turned into noise, movement, fear. Someone yanked my shoulder hard. Get him out, a security man barked. I stumbled backward, nearly falling. The bottle shook in my hand. A drop of the dirty water splashed against the inside of the cap. Mrs. Martins screamed, not words, just sound. Adewale, please, please. I froze near the door, my heart pounding so loud I could hear it in my ears. I didn't want to be there anymore. I didn't want to see a man die while looking at me. Dr. Ease glanced at me once, just once, his face tight, conflicted. Take the boy outside, he said. Now. The guards didn't argue this time. They dragged me into the hallway and pushed me against the wall like I was something dangerous. Sit, one of them ordered. I slid down slowly until I was on the cold floor, still holding the bottle like it might disappear if I let go. Inside the room, voices overlapped. Pulse is weak. BP is dropping. Come on, Adewale, stay with us. I pressed my forehead against my knees. This was not how I imagined it. I didn't come to watch him die. I came because I didn't want anyone else to. The hallway smelled like disinfectant and fear. Rich fear. The kind that whispers instead of shouting. The kind that wears perfume and still smells like panic. After what felt like a long time, but was probably only minutes, the noise changed. The beeping slowed. Not normal, but not screaming either. Anja nurse stepped out, breathing hard. Sweat shone on her forehead. Mrs. Martins followed, her lace wrapper loose now, her hair slightly undone. She looked smaller. She saw me on the floor. For a second I thought she would shout again, tell them to throw me out of the hospital completely. Instead she walked toward me. Her heels clicked softly on the floor. Click, click. She stopped in front of me and looked down. How old are you? She asked quietly. 12, I said. Her lips trembled. 12, she repeated, like the word hurt. And you walked into a hospital with that. She pointed at the bottle. I nodded. You're brave, she said. Then she shook her head. Or foolish. I don't know which. I looked up at her. Her eyes were red again, but now they weren't angry. They were searching. My husband stabilized, she said softly. For now. My chest loosened a little. But he hasn't woken up fully, she continued, and before he lost consciousness, he said things that don't make sense. I swallowed. She lowered herself into the chair opposite me. The expensive chair creaked slightly under her weight. He mentioned Ajagunle, she said, and waistlines, and he looked at you like you were a mirror. She leaned forward. Tell me the truth, Sadiq, she said. Why did that water scare him? The guards shifted, uncomfortable. Dr. Easy stood at a distance, pretending not to listen. I stared at the bottle for a moment, then I opened my mouth. My father worked as a cleaner, I said. Not in the restaurant. Behind it. Mrs. Martins frowned. Behind it? Yes, I said, where the pipes are, where the waste flows, where customers never see. I took a breath. We lived in a small room behind the Ajagunle branch. My mother sold a kara in the morning. My father fetched water from a shared well. I paused. One day the water changed. Her eyes narrowed. Changed how? It started smelling like oil, I said, like something rotten was hiding inside it. Sometimes, when my mother cooked rice, there would be small, shiny things floating on top, like fat. Dr. Ease shifted his weight. I continued. People complained, but nothing happened. The restaurant was big, powerful. Nobody listened to people like us. Mrs. Martin's face tightened. My father kept drinking the water, I said, because what choice did he have? My voice cracked a little. One morning he collapsed. He was vomiting. His skin was hot. He kept saying his stomach was burning. Mrs. Martins covered her mouth. Mom, we took him to a small clinic, I said. They said it was typhoid, then cholera. Then they said they didn't know. I swallowed again. He died 2 days later. The hallway went quiet. Even the guards stopped moving. I kept that water, I said, lifting the bottle slightly, because something told me not to throw it away. I didn't know why. I just knew. Mrs. Martin stared at the bottle like it was suddenly alive. And you think, she began slowly, you think that water is connected to my husband? I nodded. He approved a waste system, I said. Years ago, people talked about it behind the restaurant. They said it was cheaper, that it sent fat and oil into the ground instead of proper treatment. Dr. Ease finally stepped closer. That's a serious accusation, he said. I'm not accusing, I replied. I'm explaining. Mrs. Martins closed her eyes. Inside the room, a machine beeped steadily. She opened her eyes again, sharp now. Doctor, she said to Dr. Ease, what kind of water does my husband drink at home? Dr. Ease hesitated. Filtered, bottled, private supply. From where? She pressed. He cleared his throat. The estate uses a private borehole. The same underground water table serves several nearby areas. My heart thudded. Ajagunle wasn't that far. Mrs. Martin's face drained of color. You're saying, she whispered, that what poisoned those people could have reached our home? Dr. Ease didn't answer immediately. That silence said everything. Mrs. Martin stood up suddenly. Run tests, she ordered, on the water, on this bottle, on everything. Dr. Easy hesitated. Madam, this is unconventional. Run the tests, she snapped. He nodded quickly and gestured to a nurse. They took the bottle from my hands carefully, like it was a fragile truth. As it left my grip, I felt empty, like I had just handed over my shield. A man in a grey suit approached. He had been quiet all this time. I'm Kunla, he said. Family lawyer. He looked at me seriously. Do you know what you're doing, young man? I looked back. Yes. He sighed. This could become very big. I shrugged. My father's death was already big. That shut him up. Mrs. Martins turned back to me. You didn't wait for thanks, she said. You didn't ask for money. I shook my head. I just wanted him to know. She nodded slowly. You may have saved his life, she said, or you may have destroyed everything he built. I met her eyes. Sometimes, I said quietly, it's the same thing. She looked at me for a long moment. Then she said something I didn't expect. Stay. I blinked. Ma. Stay in the hospital, she said, at least for tonight. I want you here when the test results come back. One of the guards frowned. Madam. I said stay, she repeated. They backed off. Hours passed. The hospital lights dimmed slightly. Night crept in through the windows. Phones buzzed. Whispered calls were made. I sat on a bench, swinging my legs slowly, pretending I wasn't scared. Dr. Ease walked past me once, stopped, then turned back. "You know," he said quietly, "I almost threw you out without listening." I looked at him. "I know." He nodded. "That would have been a mistake." Inside the lab, machines hummed. Inside the VIP ward, Adewale Martins slept, alive but fragile. And somewhere deep underground, at water that had carried greed for years, was finally being questioned. Then a nurse rushed out of the lab, holding a file. Her face was pale. She walked straight to Mrs. Martins. "Ma," she whispered, "the results are in." Mrs. Martins took the file with shaking hands. She opened it. Her eyes scanned the page. Then she dropped into the chair like her legs stopped working. "What?" Kunle asked sharply. "What does it say?" She looked up. Her voice barely came out. "The contaminants in the bottle," she said, "match what's in Adewale's bloodstream." The hallway exploded into noise, and I knew this story was no longer just about a dying CEO. It was about a truth that had waited years to speak. The first thing that changed was the tone of the hospital. Not the lights, not the smell, the people. Doctors stopped walking fast and loud. Our nurses whispered more. Phones were no longer on loudspeaker. Even the guards at the door stood straighter, like they suddenly realized they were guarding more than a sick man. They were guarding a secret. Mrs. Martins didn't cry when the test results came back. That surprised everyone. She just sat there, holding the file with both hands, staring at the words like they were written in fire. "This stays in this room," she said finally. Her voice was calm. Too calm. Kunle, the lawyer, nodded immediately. "Of course, Ma. We'll manage it carefully." "No," she corrected. "Not manage. Investigate." Dr. Ease swallowed. "Madam, once we go down that road—" "I know," she said, standing up. "Once we go down that road, there's no turning back." She turned to me. "Sadiq." "Yes." "Ma. You said you grew up behind the Ajagunle branch." "Yes." "Can you take us there?" The question landed heavy. Kunle frowned. "Madam, with all due respect, that environment is dirty," she cut in sharply. "Dangerous? Uncomfortable?" She looked at him hard. "My husband is dying because of that environment." Silence. "We go tomorrow morning," she said. Quietly, no press. Dr. Isa hesitated. "And Adewale?" She glanced toward the ward. "He's stable for now, and when he wakes up, he will answer questions." That night, I didn't sleep. They gave me a small bed in a side room. Clean sheets, soft pillow, the kind of comfort my father never had in his last days. But my eyes stayed open. I kept seeing his face. My father, sitting on a low stool, washing his hands with that water, complaining that it smelled strange, then laughing it off. "It's Lagos," he used to say. "What doesn't smell strange here?" I turned on my side and pressed my face into the pillow. I didn't want to cry in a rich hospital. Morning came too quickly. By 7 a.m., Mrs. Martins was already dressed, not in lace this time, but in simple dark clothes. She looked like someone going to war quietly. 2 SUVs waited outside the hospital. Inside one of them, Kunle tapped his phone nervously. "This could cause panic if it leaks," he said. "Shareholders—" Mrs. Martins raised a hand. "Enough." She looked at me in the back seat. "Sadiq," she asked gently, "are you afraid?" I thought about it. "Yes," I said. She nodded. "Good, that means you understand what this means." The car rolled into Ajagunle just after 8 a.m. The smell hit first, not the normal Lagos smell of smoke and sweat and street food. And this one was heavier, oily, like something dead was hiding underground. The road behind the restaurant was narrow, muddy and forgotten, a place nobody with clean shoes went. People stared as the SUVs stopped. Women paused mid-wash. Children froze with sachets of water in their hands. They weren't used to cars like that coming here. I stepped down first. "This is it," I said. Mrs. Martins followed. She stopped walking after 3 steps. Her expensive shoes sank slightly into the ground. She looked down. The soil shimmered, not with water, with grease. "Oh my God," she whispered. A woman nearby recognized the restaurant logo on the SUV. You people are from Martin's Food, she said, her voice sharp. Now you have come? Mrs. Martins turned to her. My name is Aisha Martins, she said. My husband owns the company. The woman laughed. Not happy. Bitter. Then you should drink our water, she said, since you like saving money. More people gathered. Someone brought a plastic cup filled from the well. It smelled exactly like the bottle I carried. Mrs. Martins covered her mouth. Kunle looked like he might throw up. This has been happening for years, the woman continued. Our children get sick. Our men die. We complained. Nobody listened. I felt my chest tighten. She pointed at me. This boy's father, too. Mrs. Martins turned slowly to look at me. Her eyes filled. I'm sorry, she whispered. For the first time, the apology didn't feel empty. Suddenly, a black pickup truck drove into the area. The logo on the side made Kunle stiffen. Environmental Task Force, he muttered. Men jumped out, already defensive. What's going on here? One demanded. Mrs. Martins stepped forward. My husband is Adewale Martins, she said, and this is his mess. The man hesitated. That name still carried weight, but not like before. Samples will be taken, the officer said cautiously. Good, she replied. Take them, all of them. Phones started coming out. Kunle hissed. Madam, it's already too late, she said. Back at the hospital, Adewale Martins woke up just before noon. His eyes opened slowly, like they were heavy with regret. Mrs. Martins sat beside him. Sadiq came, she said softly. His throat moved. I know. You approved a waste system, she continued. Didn't you? Tears rolled down his temples. Yes, he whispered. They said it was safe. She didn't shout. She didn't cry. She just said, it wasn't. He closed his eyes. I wanted to grow fast, he murmured. Everyone was doing it. And now? She asked. His voice broke. And now it has found me. Outside the ward, Kunle answered a call, his face drained. What? He whispered. Already? He turned slowly toward Mrs. Martins. The press, he said. Someone leaked it. She didn't look surprised. How bad? She asked. Kunle swallowed. They're calling it the poisoned CEO. Inside the ward, Adewale Martins' monitor beeped faster. His breathing grew shallow. Dr. Ease rushed in. He's reacting again, he said. Stress could kill him. Mrs. Martins stood frozen between two worlds, truth and survival. She looked at me across the room. Sadiq, she said softly, if he dies now, what happens to this story? I didn't answer immediately. Then I said the truth. If he dies now, they'll bury the truth with him. Her face hardened. Then she turned back to the doctors. Save him, she said, at all costs. Because now his life wasn't just his. It was evidence. By evening, the hospital gates were no longer quiet. They never are, once truth smells like blood. Cameras lined the entrance, microphones stretched forward like hungry mouths. Reporters shouted questions into the air, even though nobody was answering them. Is it true the CEO poisoned his own community? Are more victims expected? Is Adewale Martins dying because of his own company? Inside, the hospital felt like it was holding its breath. Security doubled, curtains were drawn, phones were confiscated in certain rooms. Nurses were warned. No leaks, no gossip. But leaks don't need permission. They find cracks. I sat on a bench near the ICU doors, my legs swinging slowly. I had learned that swinging helped me think. When I stopped swinging, my thoughts became too heavy. Mrs. Martins paced, back and forth, back and forth. Every few steps, she stopped to listen to the machines inside the room. Every time they changed rhythm, her shoulders tensed. Kunle stood near the wall, whispering urgently into his phone. No, delay the board meeting. Yes, I know it's urgent. No, we can't issue a denial yet. He noticed me watching and lowered his voice. Dr. Ease walked out of the ICU, rubbing his forehead. How is he? Mrs. Martins asked immediately. Alive, Dr. Easy said, but barely. His organs are weak. The toxins have done damage over time. Can he survive? She asked. Dr. Ease hesitated. Yes, he said slowly, but survival comes with conditions. She straightened. Or what conditions? We need to flush his system aggressively, he said. Dialysis, specialized treatment, but stress will kill him faster than the poison. She looked toward the doors. And the press, she asked. Dr. Ease didn't answer, because everyone already knew. That night, something unexpected happened. Adewale Martins asked to see me. The nurse came quietly. Sadiq, she said softly, he's awake, and he asked for you by name. My heart skipped. Me? She nodded. Please, be gentle. Mrs. Martins looked at me. Her eyes searched my face like she was asking a question she couldn't say out loud. I stood up. My legs felt weak, but I walked anyway. Inside the ICU, the lights were dim. Machines hummed softly. Adewale Martins looked smaller than ever, but his eyes were clear. He saw me and swallowed. You came, he said weakly. Yes. Aye, sir, I replied. He studied my face like he was trying to memorize it. What's your father's name? He asked suddenly. I wasn't ready for that. Yusuf, I said. Yusuf Bello. His eyes closed. I remember him, he whispered. That shocked me. You do? I asked. Yes, he said slowly. He complained. Years ago, about the smell, about the well. My chest tightened. You ignored him, I said, not angry, just true. Yes, he admitted. I told my manager, settle it quietly. Silence filled the room. I didn't think, his voice broke, I didn't think people would die. I clenched my hands. My father did, I said. Tears slid down his face. I know, he whispered, and now, I'm paying. He looked at me again. You didn't come for money, he said. Why? I thought about it. Because money won't bring my father back, I said. And because if nobody spoke, more fathers would die. He nodded slowly. Outside, he said, they are calling me a monster. I didn't answer. He sighed. Maybe they're right. I shifted my weight. But monsters don't cry, I said quietly. They hide. His eyes filled again. Sadiq, he whispered, I need you to do something, if I don't make it. I froze. Don't say that, I said quickly. Listen, he insisted, gripping my wrist weakly. If I die, the company lawyers will bury this. They'll call it an accident, a smear campaign. I felt a chill. You must speak, he said. You must tell everything. I stared at him. They won't listen to me, I said. They will, he replied, because I will make them. Mrs. Martins entered quietly, stopping when she saw his hand on my wrist. Adewale, she said gently, you shouldn't be talking this much. He looked at her. I have to, he said, before they stop me. Kunle appeared behind her, tense. Stop you how? Mrs. Martins asked sharply. Adewale looked past them, toward the door. Because the board is coming, he said. Kunle stiffened. They're already downstairs. Mrs. Martin's jaw tightened. They want to protect the brand, Adewale continued, not the people. The machines beeped faster. I want to make a statement, Adewale said. Kunle stepped forward. Sir, you're not in a condition. I don't care, Adewale snapped weakly. If I don't speak now, this dies with me. Mrs. Martins closed her eyes. She knew. Once he spoke, there would be no turning back. But if he didn't, thousands would keep drinking poison. Outside, chants started rising. Justice for Ajagunle. Clean water now. The hospital walls trembled with noise. Adewale looked at his wife. Help me sit up, he said. Dr. Ease rushed in. This is dangerous. So is silence, Adewale replied. Mrs. Martins hesitated, then placed her hands behind her husband's back. She helped him sit up. The machines screamed in protest. Kunle panicked. This could kill him. Adewale looked straight at me. Sadiq, he said, voice shaking but clear. If I collapse, promise me you'll finish this story. I opened my mouth. Before I could answer, a loud knock hit the ICU door, hard, urgent. A security officer burst in. Madam, he said breathlessly, the board is demanding access, and the press just got hold of internal documents. Mrs. Martin's eyes widened. What documents? She asked. The officer swallowed. Proof that the waste system was flagged as dangerous years ago. The room went dead silent. Adewale Martin's face drained of color, then his body stiffened. The monitor shrieked. "Cardiac event," Dr. Easy shouted. Doctors rushed in. I stepped back, my heart racing. Ladewell collapsed back onto the bed, gasping for air. Mrs. Martin screamed his name, and I realized the truth had finally hit him harder than the poison ever did. The machines didn't calm down immediately. They screamed like they were angry at everyone in the room. Doctors pushed us back. Hands moved fast. Words flew over my head. Medical words, sharp and urgent. "Clear. Pulse is unstable. Hold his head. Careful." Mrs. Martin stood frozen for half a second, then stepped back slowly, like she was walking out of a bad dream. I watched Adewale Martin's body jerk once. I then go still. And in that moment, something strange happened inside me. I wasn't scared anymore. I was angry. Not the loud kind, the quiet kind. The kind that sits heavy in your chest and refuses to move. Dr. Ease finally looked up. "He's alive," he said, breathing hard. "But barely." Mrs. Martins nodded. She didn't say thank you. She didn't cry. She just straightened her shoulders. "Good," she said. "Then we still have time." Cunley looked at her like she had lost her mind. "Time for what?" he asked. "For the truth," she replied. Outside the ICU, the noise grew louder. Protesters had gathered near the gate, not hundreds, but enough. People held placards made from cardboard. "Clean water is a right, our children are not waste." I recognized some faces, Adjagunal faces, people who had lived with the smell long before it became news. Chikunli rubbed his temples. "Madam, this is getting out of control. The board is panicking. Investors are calling non-stop." Mrs. Martins turned slowly and faced him. "For years," she said calmly, "people were dying out of control. Nobody panicked then." He opened his mouth, then closed it. Dr. Ease cleared his throat. "Adewale asked to make a statement," he said carefully, "but in his condition, it's risky." "Then he won't speak," Mrs. Martins said. I looked at her, confused. She met my eyes. "He won't," she repeated, "but we will." Kunle's head snapped up. "We," she nodded. "You," she said to Kunle. "Me." Then she looked at me. "And him." My heart skipped. "Me?" I asked. She stepped closer. "Sadiq," she said softly, "this story started with you. If it's told without you, it will be edited." Kunle frowned. "Madam, he's a child." "Yes," she replied, "and that's why they won't be able to twist his words." I didn't know what to say. I had never spoken into a microphone before. I had never stood in front of cameras. I had never told my father's story to strangers who might not care. But I remembered Adewale's words. "If I die, promise me you'll finish this story." Mrs. Martins placed a hand on my shoulder. "You don't have to speak if you don't want to," she said. "But if you do, I will stand beside you." That mattered. An hour later, the hospital conference room was packed. Not with press, yet. With lawyers, board members, men and women in suits who smelled like power and impatience. One of them stood up immediately. "This is a mistake," he said. "Releasing any statement now will destroy the company." Mrs. Martin sat calmly. "The company destroyed itself," she replied. "This just gives it a name." Another man leaned forward. "Think of Adewale's legacy." She looked at him coldly. "I am." They argued. Voices rose. Threats were wrapped in polite language. I sat quietly at the end of the table, swinging my legs under the chair. Finally, Mrs. Martin stood. "My husband approved a waste system that harmed people," she said clearly. "That is not a rumor. It is fact." The room went silent. "We have medical evidence," she continued, "environmental samples, and a witness." She gestured to me. All eyes turned. My throat went dry. "This boy," she said, "lost his father because of our negligence." One of the board members scoffed. "With respect, a child's story," Mrs. Martin slammed her hand on the table, "is still a story of death," she snapped. "And you don't get to decide which deaths matter." That shut them up. Kunle sighed. "If we do this, there's no undoing it." Mrs. Martins nodded. "Good." The press was let in 30 minutes later. Cameras, lights, questions already forming on lips. Mrs. Martin stood at the podium first. Her voice was steady. My name is Aisha Martins, she said, and today I'm speaking as a wife, and as someone who failed to ask questions early enough. Gasps filled the room. She explained the waste system, the contamination, the test results, the connection to her husband's illness. Then she turned. And now, she said, I want you to hear from someone who lived with the consequences. My legs felt heavy as I stood. I walked to the microphone. It was taller than me. Someone adjusted it. The room felt too big, too bright. I took a breath. My name is Sadiq, I said. I'm 12 years old. Cameras clicked. I grew up behind one of the Martins restaurants, I continued, the part you don't see. I told them about the well, the smell, my father. I didn't cry. I didn't shout. I just spoke. My father drank that water, I said, and he never came back from it. The room was silent. I brought the water to the hospital, I finished. Not to hurt anyone, just so they would remember. When I stepped back, my hands were shaking. Mrs. Martin squeezed my shoulder. Outside, the story exploded. Phones rang. Headlines changed in real time. CEO's illness linked to corporate negligence. Child witness exposes water contamination scandal. But not everyone was happy. That night, as I lay back in the small hospital bed, a nurse leaned close. Sadiq, she whispered, someone has been asking about you. My heart skipped. Who? I asked. She hesitated. Men in suits, she said. Not the board. Different ones. A chill ran down my spine. Down the hallway I saw two shadows pause, then move on. And I realized something frightening. Telling the truth didn't end the danger. It just changed its shape. The hospital stopped feeling like a hospital after the press conference. It felt like a cage. Not because the doors were locked, but because eyes were everywhere. Nurses whispered when I passed. Doctors avoided my gaze. Even the guards, big men with thick arms, watched me like they weren't sure whether to protect me or report me. I kept my head down. That night, Mrs. Martins moved me, quietly, no announcement, no explanation to anyone except Dr. Ease. Security risk, she said simply. And they took me to a small guest apartment owned by the hospital 2 streets away. Nothing fancy. Clean, safe-looking. At least, that's what they said. Mrs. Martin sat across from me on the couch. The TV was muted, but headlines crawled across the screen anyway. Investigation launched into Martin's food group communities demand cleanup and compensation. She looked tired. Not sick tired, soul tired. You should know something, she said gently. When powerful people feel exposed, they don't always act clean. I nodded. I already felt it. What about Adewale? I asked. She hesitated. He's stable, she said, but weak. The doctors say stress could undo everything. I stared at the floor. So they want him alive, I said quietly, but quiet. She didn't deny it. Kunle knocked and entered without waiting. We have a problem, he said. Mrs. Martin sighed. How many? At least 3, he replied. 1, shareholders are threatening to pull out. 2, the environmental agency has frozen some accounts. And 3, she asked. Kunle glanced at me. Someone leaked Sadiq's location. My stomach dropped. Leaked, Mrs. Martins repeated sharply. Yes, Kunle said, not to the press, to others. She stood up instantly. Move him again, she ordered. Kunle hesitated. Madam, this is starting to look like… Like what? She snapped. Protection? He didn't argue. They packed my small bag quickly. No goodbyes. No explanations. We moved after midnight. The car drove without headlights for a while, then turned them on suddenly, like nothing was wrong. I pressed my forehead against the window, watching Lagos slide by. Streetlights, hawkers, normal life, people laughing, sleeping, and drinking water. The irony made my chest hurt. They took me to a place I had never been before. Ikoyi. Tall gate, quiet road, security cameras that didn't blink. Inside the house, everything smelled new, like nobody really lived there. This is temporary, Mrs. Martin said, just until things settle. I nodded, but I didn't feel safe. I felt borrowed. That night I dreamed of my father. He was standing by the well, holding a cup of water. Are you sure? He asked me. I woke up sweating. The next morning, something changed. The tone of the news, not loud, subtle. Stories started questioning me. Who is the boy at the center of the Martin scandal? Unverified claims raise questions. Kunle slammed his laptop shut. They're shifting the narrative, he said. Classic move. Mrs. Martins frowned. How? They're not denying the pollution, he said. They're attacking the witness. My chest tightened. They're saying you're being coached, he continued, that the bottle was planted, that your father's death can't be proven. I felt small suddenly. What if people believe them? I asked. Mrs. Martins looked at me. Some will, she said honestly. That's how this works. That afternoon, Adewale Martins asked to see me again. Against medical advice, against logic, against fear. Mrs. Martins hesitated for a long time, then agreed. At the hospital, his face looked thinner, but his eyes were clear. Sit, he said weakly. I sat. They're coming for you, he said quietly. I nodded. I know. They'll try to break you, he continued, because you're easier than breaking me. I didn't reply. Sadiq, he said. Do you regret it? I thought carefully. No, I said, but I'm scared. He smiled faintly. Good, he said. That means you're still human. He took a breath. I recorded something, he said. Mrs. Martins stiffened. Adewale. Let me finish, he whispered. He looked at me. If anything happens to me, he said, this will be released. I felt my heart race. What is it? I asked. A confession, he said. Names, dates, decisions. Kunle inhaled sharply. Sir, this could destroy what's left of me, Adewale finished. I know. He closed his eyes briefly. But it might protect him, he said, nodding at me. The room went quiet. Dr. Ease shifted uncomfortably. Mrs. Martin's voice trembled. You don't have to do this. Yes, Adewale replied softly. I do. Later that evening, as we left the hospital, I noticed something. A car. Black. Windows tinted. It followed us for 2 turns, then 3. I leaned forward. Mrs. Martins, I whispered. That car. I see it, she said calmly. Kunle picked up his phone. Change route, he told the driver. The driver did. The black car did too. My heart began to pound. The driver took a sharp turn into a busy street. Horns blared, people shouted. The black car slowed, then sped up. Suddenly, it disappeared down another road. We didn't speak for the rest of the ride. That night, Mrs. Martins stood by the window of the Ikoyi house. They're testing us, she said quietly, seeing how far we'll go. I hugged my knees on the couch. I didn't want this, I whispered. She turned to me. Neither did your father, she said gently. Then Kunle's phone buzzed. He looked at the message, his face drained. They've filed an injunction, he said. Emergency court order. Mrs. Martins frowned. Against what? Against releasing Adewale's confession, he replied. My stomach sank. And, he added slowly, they're requesting that Sadiq be placed in protective custody, under their supervision. Mrs. Martin's eyes widened. That's kidnapping, she said. Kunle shook his head. On paper, it's legal. Silence filled the room. Mrs. Martins looked at me, really looked. Then she said something that scared me more than the shadows. Then we don't wait for permission. The decision Mrs. Martins made that night did not sound brave. It sounded quiet. We leave before dawn, she said. No calls, no notes, nothing digital. Kunle stared at her. Aisha, she raised a hand. I know exactly what I'm doing. Then she looked at me. Sadiq, she said softly, this is where I ask you something hard. I sat up straighter. If at any point you want to stop, she continued, we stop. No story is worth a child's life. I thought of my father, of the well, of the smell that never left our clothes. I won't stop, I said. She nodded once. That was all. Before sunrise, we were already moving, not in SUVs this time, not with sirens or escorts, just a small car, old, ordinary, the kind nobody looks at. We drove past sleeping streets, past markets not yet awake, past people who didn't know their water was poisoned and were about to wake up and drink it anyway. I held my hands together in my lap, tight. Kunle broke the silence. Where are we going? He asked. Mrs. Martins didn't look back. To the one place they can't control, she said. The truth? Kunle asked. No, she replied. Hide the people. We arrived at Ajagunle just after morning prayers. No cameras, no press. Just the community hall, paint peeling, doors creaking, plastic chairs stacked unevenly. But people were already gathering. Word had spread, not through phones, through mouths, through memory. Mrs. Martin stepped forward. She didn't wear expensive clothes, just a plain blouse and trousers. No jewelry. I am Aisha Martins, she said, standing where everyone could see her, and before today, I was hiding behind comfort. Murmurs rose. She raised a hand. My husband approved a system that harmed you, she said. I can't undo that. Silence fell, but I can stop lying about it. Then she stepped aside, and Adewale Martins appeared. Alive, weak, supported on both sides. The crowd gasped. Some shouted, some cursed, some cried. A man yelled, "You're supposed to be dead." Adewale nodded slowly. I almost was, he said. His voice was thin, but it carried. Because poison doesn't care who drinks it. He was helped into a chair. I saved money, he continued. I cut corners. I told myself it was business. He paused. It was murder. The word landed heavy. A woman screamed. Another fell to her knees. Adewale lifted a trembling hand. I recorded everything, he said. The decisions, the warnings, the names. Kunle stepped forward and held up a small device. It will be released today, Kunle said, publicly. The crowd stirred. Adewale looked around. I am alive because the poison came back to me, he said. That is the truth. Then he looked at me. And this boy, he said, carried it back. All eyes turned to me. My chest tightened, but I stepped forward. My father didn't have cameras, I said. He didn't have lawyers. He had thirst. I paused. That bottle I brought, I left it behind so nobody would forget. Silence. Then something unexpected happened. People clapped. Not loud, not happy, respectful. Later that day, the confession was released. Everything, emails, reports, approvals. Names fell like stones. Board members resigned. Investigations exploded. Accounts were frozen. The court order disappeared. Because once the truth belongs to the people, it cannot be owned. Weeks passed. The wells were sealed. Cleanup began. Compensation started. Slow, imperfect, but real. Adewale Martins survived. Not comfortably, not quietly, but alive. He never returned as CEO. He testified, and then he disappeared from headlines. Mrs. Martins stayed, not as a savior, as a witness. As for me, I didn't wait for applause. I went back home. The well behind our old room was covered now. Clean water trucks came weekly. I still keep the empty bottle, not as a trophy, as a reminder. Because this story teaches something simple and hard. What you pour on the poor never disappears. It only waits. And one day, it comes back. What is your view about this story? Where are you watching from? Do well to let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more interesting stories. Stay blessed.